Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 2 versus 2 breakthrough game on Naratch Lake. And in this one I'm going to be playing on defense with Korück 559 on the Axis side. Joining me on defense is Betts with the Korück 559 under his command as well. And on the attacking side, on the allies, we have Avocado and Spanish Warrior, who are going to be using the 15th Infantry and 26th Guards Rifles. So both of the divisions we're up against are pretty top tier, both very good attacking divisions, so we're going to have to watch out for that, especially the Churchills from the 15th Infantry. And we're using one of the sort of weaker divisions, but they are specialized for breakthrough defense due to the amount of defensive bunkers and so on that you can get. Now this map is pretty large for a 2v2, but we managed to space ourselves out quite well. Betts is going to be covering the right hand side with all of his units, and I'm going to be covering the left hand side. You can see a lot of the units going down, but I'm just going to skip this forwards and I'll go through my defenses. So the game's just started. I thought I would go through Betts' defenses first. So Betts is covering this right hand side, and he's going to be using the Pack 50mm right on the edge here, which is a really cool position to cover this road here. He's got a couple of infantry, some recon included. Also the Pack 36 that's hiding in the light forest, and also a Pack 50 that's going to be covering the left hand side. Up on this hill, bunch of infantry, a couple of Pack 37mm bunkers. This one going to be trying to take out units at close range. This one going to be going for the snipes and side shots to the left hand side. It's going to be a Pack 50mm on top of this hill, which is pointing to the left hand side. The line of sight's a bit dodgy on that though, so it's probably just going to be hitting any units that are on the edge of the hills, as well as anything that drives up in front of it. There's a couple of Shupo that are sitting in this trench alongside a Valentine. There's going to be a bunch of infantry trying to defend the town there. There's also a Pack 75mm further back that's going to be defending the main road. Loads of MG bunkers placed amongst the buildings in the town. There's also a 37mm that's placed in the light forest, going to be covering the backside of the hill, where there is a bunch of infantry defending the flag up there. There's also an AT gun all the way back here, a 75mm bunker from Betts, which is covering this open area nicely. And then his left side defences are the Citerungs, the Pack 50mm and the Landesführer that are just chilling in this position with some barbed wire and trenches. Now onto my defences. I've got a Pack 50mm that's pointing to the left hand side. That's hoping to ambush anything that comes down the main road here. Then we've got the MG42 that's firing at the backside of these trees, where I've got a couple of Rona Pioneer. So they'll cover the Rona Pioneer, that MG bunker, and any infantry that comes through there should take a lot of damage. Then I've got a Pack 36 that's hiding in some heavy forest. This is actually in a really smart position. You can see the range limitations on either side, so potential ambushes onto both roads. And I've got another Pack 50mm bunker that's facing the opposite direction to this one to cover this advance. Then I've got an MG42 that's covering the backside of this forest, where we've got a bunch of infantry here. Ideally what I should have done is had some inverse trenches behind these trees so that the MG bunker could have covered them against any infantry that came up, but I decided to place them in front for whatever reason, and the Pack 36s are currently sitting there waiting to ambush any tanks and stuff that may push towards us. Then we have some Rona Pioneer in the town. They are supposed to be in the trench but decided to jump in the building. We've got some Rona Schützen in this trench with an AT gun that's covering that road. Then I've got some Citerungs in the forward trench with the Pack 75mm and the MG42 behind, and also a command that's covering all of these units. That MG42 is covering the two light forest here, and I've got a Pack 50mm that's going to be covering against anything that either breaks through on this right hand side or maybe comes through the light forest. Then I've got a 75mm bunker that is covering the left hand side. The Citerungs are going to be in this trench, and I've also got the command behind those to provide veterancy. In this town, just a couple of Rona Pioneer, some Citerungs in a trench which are there to draw fire, and the Pack 50mm on the left hand side, which is supposed to ambush this road and potentially this road if an aggressive push comes down. So that is your lot. The only thing that I would say is that I didn't make my defense very deep, and that does come back to bite me later on. Either way, let's get the speed back up. And we'll watch as Avocado starts to throw multiple Churchills my way. He's currently started with snipers. These are really nice because they do provide the recon information that he needs to create his attack. And he's also got some standard infantry squads that he can throw onto my positions to reveal any units with machine guns, like the MG42 bunker, and also the Sitterungs in this case, which are being absolutely bombarded by tank fire from the Churchill 6. We've also got some artillery fire coming in from the 4.2-inch mortars, and they're going to be crushing my 75mm bunker straight off the bat. Really, really powerful mortar fire there. Gets the job done and removes one of my options for dealing with these Churchills. Now you're probably wondering how he saw that since it was hidden. Well, it ended up firing onto the convoy of CMPs that came down this road, and although I think the MG42 claimed the kill onto the truck, because it fired, it revealed its position. So that's probably my bad for letting it be revealed in the first place. But I've also got to consider that I basically have a bad habit of putting trenches in front of my bunkers. So it's quite obvious where the bunker is, because I pretty much do it across the board. You can see I do it here, nice trench in front of the bunkers. I've got it not quite there, but other places I always place trenches near my bunkers, because it gives the bunkers something to cover, and you can just like reinforce by throwing the infantry nearby the bunkers. But yeah, it does give away the position of the bunkers in my case, so I'm gonna have to stop doing that and have them as like better ambushing positions. In this case, I think I should have had the 75mm bunker much further back, maybe on this left hand side in a more like ambushing position, or even here, so that I could kill things that come out the backside of the town if we lose control. My left side was definitely the weakest on deployment, because this Pak 50mm was a bit misplaced, and my infantry doesn't even have any command here, so it can be surrendered really easily. You can see that they've secured a few points, and they're also pushing into this area where I have my Sitterungs. The Schupo have been pinned down, so my Sitterungs on the right hand side do surrender, which is really bad, but these Sitterungs are still doing a decent job. Their machine gun managing to pin the Gvardia, which are currently crawling through the barbed wire here. And the Avtomachiki are also pinned. So that barbed wire working quite well to help me avoid the close range engagement with the Avtomachiki. Ideally that would have been a little bit further away from the trench to avoid the engagement completely, but this was like the edge of deployment, so I definitely deployed like way too far up. But I think I placed too much reliance on the 75mm bunker to kill a lot of the tanks early on, and since it just completely failed me, I'm now incredibly weak on this left hand side. My Sitterungs are being overrun. Betts is a bit worried about this, but there is absolutely nothing I can do. Just got to retreat my Pak 36 and try and get them out of there, because it's just an infantry push heading towards me right now. So just going to have to try and do a runner if I can. This MG42 is going to be able to find and hopefully kill the Sapari Komlotti that decide to run across the open. He's going to get absolutely wrecked by that MG fire. Schupo is going to be trying to take on these rifles alongside the MG42. But with the Churchill coming in with its shots, the MG42 remains pinned down, and the Schupo, whilst they're doing a little bit of damage to the rifles, are only engaging with their Kar 98, so that's not too great. Anyway, Avocado is making some very fast infantry pushes into the town here, and my Pak 50mm is completely vulnerable to these units. Nice bombing strike comes in from Betts. I believe that was Betts' ME410 here. Provided us with a couple of bombs, and then my Runderschützen are just going to drive on through, surrender the squads that are left, and try and take up position here in order to provide MG fire down the main road and prevent Avocado basically from making too much ground. But Avocado is going to come in with these Spitfires. Spitfires always looking absolutely awesome in this game. We'll follow them round for their next gun run. So the rifles, they're continuing their engagement, but here come the Spitfires. Going for the commander squad that Betts decided to bring in. It was initially a good idea, but since our front line collapsed so fast, they bumped into our commander here, and, well, we lost him very, very quickly. I decided to bring up a VK-18. These are actually fantastic for taking out enemy infantry. They do look quite funny, but they have a lot of armor, so they're very difficult for infantry to kill, whilst being an absolute counter to infantry. So at close range, these tear them apart. Any infantry that's in the open is going to get ripped to shreds as well. So perfect infantry counter, but of course there are Churchills, so I'm going to have to try and keep it in cover and make sure that I basically can utilize this as much as possible before they completely overrun me. So going for the shots there, it opens up with the AP shells. I did intend to open up with the heat shell, but accidentally forgot to turn off the AP shells, so it opened up with its normal rounds and just gets killed very, very quickly in the face of all of those Churchills, so that really sucks. Because I would have liked to have taken out this Churchill 4, which does have 175mm of penetration with its APCR. Now the Spitfire's coming in for the strafing run onto the Schupo, and they are going to manage to take that out in the trench there. So the left side just completely collapsing, and it doesn't help that Spanish Warrior is also putting pressure on this side. Now of course Betts is going to reinforce me, but the worst part about a double push on one side, or I guess the best part about a double push for the attackers, is that they waste a lot of our points. So currently Betts has a lot of forces on this right hand side, which are placed correctly, don't get me wrong, but currently can't be utilized in the game. So we're kind of having to make up the difference on the left hand side from a disadvantage, which is very, very hard for us to do, and something that Avocado and Spanish Warrior basically took advantage of by attacking in the same position. And if you're ever playing Breakthrough with a random person, make sure that you coordinate. Tell the other person where you'd like them to push, and do a double push, because they are really, really strong. Anyway, I'm bringing up a couple of Panzer IIs here, and these are intended to work a lot like this VK. The VK did do quite a lot of damage to some infantry squads, but inevitably got pinned down as the Churchills advanced. Unfortunately, these Panzer IIs get caught out on the main road, and the Churchills are just going to rip them to shreds. We get the turret stuck, and then it's just blown up completely. And, well, this Valentine's not going to really last too long. The Churchills firing away. There's 3 of these Churchill 4s here with the 175mm APCR. And I think Avocado had turned off the APCR shells, so he didn't waste them against targets he didn't need to. Either way, MG42 bunkers trying to hold. This center area is not too bad, but this defensive area has already been overrun. I do think like the bunkers behind would have been, or the trenches behind would have been way better, with maybe a MG bunker like back here. And just kind of sacrifice this point rather than trying to contest it, because the town would have been much easier to defend, as you can see by the fact that we've managed to hide a bunch of T-34s in here, so that if a Spanish Warrior wants to push forwards, then he's going to have a harder time. Although, saying that, because he is playing the 26 Guards, he does have access to these KVs, which are very difficult for us to kill, as well as things like KB85s, but we haven't seen any of those yet, which means that he most likely has them in Phase B, where he gets an abundance of availability. So a couple of Panzer IIIs coming in. These weren't intended to stop on the main road, and, well, that inevitably gets them killed. This one currently falling back with a crew panic, the other one's already dead. And this left side's just looking worse and worse. Just got to get units into ambushing positions, so starting to build up a secondary defense line here as I bring in the FK 288 and some more Runnerschützen. Now 10 minutes has passed, so we have now moved into Phase B, which is where we have the least amount of income and our opponents have the most amount of income. So it's only gone from bad to worse. And I'm going to have to be forced to use my ME109 G6s here, which I've brought to basically counter the Spitfires, but they're going to be forced to strafe the infantry as they come in. I'm trying to unload these CMPs so they don't charge me down. Panzer III's also having a go. Going to be firing down that road, but look how epic that looks. Shot coming in from, I think, a Churchill further back, or maybe even an AT gun. Anyway, because Avocado is moving from left to right here, He's actually completely ignoring these bunkers. Like, this is smoked off for starters, but the other good thing about this attack is that my bunkers aren't even facing to the left. So they're completely exposed to this attack, and there's nothing I can do about it. So it's really, really sad for me to see Ronaschutzen trying their best. They're trying to pin down the Avtomachiki as they cross the open, but there's a lot of Russians here. They're charging very fast. That Avtomachiki squad takes a HE shell to the face. The other's just going to continue to press on. It looks absolutely awesome. And I think the death animations at a glance do look very cool. So the infantry charge is making it to the forest. And we've also got Gavardia coming in from the other side. So those defenses are now also being crushed. Got a couple of Sitterungs to help defend. A couple of, well, the FK-288 there going into an ambush position. But since we're in Phase B, we can now get Tigers. So the Tiger squad has arrived. But since we're playing Korück, there's only a maximum of 4 available. And, well, we're going to have to take good care of these if we're going to want them to be effective. Now, since we have lost this left-hand side, it does leave us vulnerable to a left-side push. I have brought in an FK-288 that is able to fire from left to right, but this does get kind of stuck using its HE on infantry, which is revealing its position and basically meaning that it's going to become an arty target pretty damn quickly. So you can see the artillery now coming in straight onto my AT gun, and it also manages to kill my flak as well, since that was right next to it. So some devastating rocket artillery there, kills AA, AT, all of it. And even the mortars are coming in to that position. Any position that we do make is just getting wrecked at the moment. So I'm thinking, what can I do? I've got some Ju-87Gs, so I thought I'd give these a go. And these have 140mm of penetration, so I'm going to have to find side shots to get reliable kills. But I have a good line of sight here onto these Churchills, and that's what we're going to be going for. Managed to kill one. I've queued the attacks onto the second. We get 2 Churchill kills there. This one gets transmission destroyed, which disables it for the time being. So now Avocado is left with a couple tanks that are actually working on this side. Meanwhile, my ME-109s continue their strafing runs. I didn't want to test my luck here. The Ju-87s aren't going to retreat, but if you guys didn't notice, my Tiger gets wrecked. First one down. The APCR shell of the Churchill kills it. Oops. If we go to Avocado's perspective, I think it was this Churchill that we actually traded with. It has the 175mm APCR. It managed to one-shot my Tiger. And then I think my Tiger traded at the same time, which was really, really unlucky. But now Avocado has brought in a 17-pounder, and that makes things even more difficult. And it's going to force Betts to pull back as the smoke comes in. My second Tiger is rolling up this road. I've got it on a quick hunt order to get to the edge of here, so that we can start firing at the Churchills pushing from left to right. But with all of the artillery that's come into the town, our infantry's pinned, Spanish warriors pushing us very hard, Avocado's bringing in the reinforcements, and we are in a tricky, tricky situation. Now we only have to hold more flags than the enemy in order to win for 18 more minutes. So there is still a possibility we can win, but we've definitely had a very bad start. You've got to consider that we are still in the worst phase of income with 120 per minute. And since we both built Vanguard, you can see that we only get 165 in Phase C, which is still less than our opponents. So if we get behind, it's very difficult for us to come back. And I think both of us got caught off guard by the efficiency of Avocado's attack, especially with those mortars that broke down my 75mm AT gun. So now we're just desperately trying to hold on. My Tiger here is kind of getting stuck firing at enemy infantry. It is going to take that out. I do manage to clean up a 17 pounder with my artillery here, the LEFH 18M. I've got a couple of these, and with radio, their corrected shot's actually pretty damn good, so that's what I was trying to use. Unfortunately, Betts was trying to do the same thing, but he's being counter-batteried by the abundance of artillery that our opponents had. So now it's time to go for the air engagement. Spitfires are coming in. ME-109's going for the shots there. That's one Spitfire down. My ME-109's going to be chasing onto another Spitfire. I changed the target quickly. Look at that. Swift double kill for the ME-109 G6. Very, very nice. Now we're going to be trying to go for this Typhoon. Not going to be able to turn into it quickly enough. And the air engagement continues. This Typhoon was managing to stay out of the way of the guns of my fighters. This Typhoon coming over to help out for the time being. And the fact that myself and Betts both brought out fighters was really, really good, because it stops the Tigers from being pinned. But what it didn't stop is another kill onto my Tiger, which did get killed. So I've now lost both of my Tigers, which is really, really unlucky. We don't manage to get the Typhoon either, because Avocado brings in 2 more Spitfires, and those 2 Spitfires do kill one of my ME-109s. But Betts has more on his division. He manages to shoot down the Typhoon. Now it's all hands on deck to kill the 2 Spitfires here. My ME-109 gets killed off by AA after the Spitfires do some damage. And we see the Betts' ME-109 going to get on the tail of these Spitfires. Manages to shoot down one. Can it get the second? Very, very close. Instead, my ME-109 comes in to snatch the kill as it tries to turn away. So that's the air engagement 1. We've shot down many of their aircraft. The ME-109 G6s were successful, which means that my Ju-87 should be able to come in for more successful strikes. That was the whole idea behind that engagement. We just thought we'd invest a lot into the air, because then we can use our mobile air force with those AT guns on the wings to take out these tanks that we're otherwise having trouble taking care of. And since I've lost both my Tigers, we're very heavily dependent on Betts' Tigers here. And that means that it's probably going to be the focus of Avocado and Spanish Warrior to get rid of them. Now I point out to Betts that the next line of defense is these 2 flags, and as long as we hold these and we don't get attacked too much on the right hand side, we can still win the game. So it's just a matter of making a new defensive line that can hopefully prevent the enemy from pushing forwards for 14 more minutes. That is the plan. So I brought in some Pack 40s. I'm spreading these around. You can see I've unloaded this one here. That's going to be attack moving into position on this tree patch here. And I can then ambush the road. I've got a Pack 40 that's going to be pushing to the edge of the trees here, again for the same purpose, and Betts has a Pack 40 that's currently sneaking up to maybe get some shots onto the KV-85. Over here, the Tigers are under pressure from the KV-85s anyway. The 145mm of penetration is more than enough to kill the Tigers. So he is having trouble here. The gun jam on the Tigers definitely a bad thing. This Tiger is currently firing away though, as the rocket artillery comes in from Betts. So these are the Multier Wildfachwerfers firing away, but as you can see, one did just get destroyed as artillery fire comes in. Nice counter battery straight away from our opponents, and well, yeah. Betts has to move away with his rocket artillery for the time being. And since there is plenty of tanks coming our way, his Churchill's now under pressure, or his Tiger's now under pressure again, since the other Tiger is still falling back. Now nicely, Betts does take out one of the Churchills with the APCR ammo, and focusing those is definitely a priority. So he's going to be bringing in an ME-410 with the 2 500 kilogram bombs to bomb that group of Churchills and force them back. I'm also going to be bringing in multiple Ju-87s. Got 3 on the board here, and they're going for the gun runs onto all of these Churchills as they do get forced to fall back by that bombing strike. We kill the one with the APCR ammunition, and I only make the other 2 fall back. We don't manage to find the kill. And with that, Typhoon does come in, shoots down one of my Ju-87Gs. Not happy about that at all. Going to bring in an ME-410 that's going to try and bomb some of this infantry. Nice job by Betts though to just get his 4 fighters in and shoot down the Typhoon. So I managed to get away with 2 of the Ju-87s. My ME-109 G6 is trying to get away at the moment, but currently being shot by the M15s from a distance. Just about makes it, and so does the ME-410. So we get away with not losing some aircraft that maybe we should have, but I'm happy with that. And it's just a matter of continuing our defense on this area. Now my Pack 40, really nice position here. Can't be shot at from the left-hand side. And since Spanish Warrior has decided to attack from left to right, we're getting some really good side shots into these tanks right now. And my Pack 50mm bunker that was actually placed facing the left side is coming into use, which is quite something. I didn't think that any of these defenses would be used for most of the game, but Spanish Warrior starts putting on a little bit of pressure here to try and defend it. But since there is, in fact, defenses and a lot of bunkers here, a defense this late, or an attack this late in the game, is going to be pretty futile on that side of things, since this is the side where our defenses have been broken down. Now it is going to be a draw in 13 minutes with 12 to 12. You can see that they are contesting these flags on the right hand side now, and that's going to be causing us issues because we can't really afford to lose any more points if we want to win. So now Betts has basically got the task of continuing to contest these points, which are now being forced on quite heavily by these KV-85s, for example. And we've also got to hold back Avocado, who's putting pressure onto this flag. I've got multiple units of SS Schupo coming in the late game. I'm not a massive fan of disheartened troops, but they're pretty much all I got. So throwing them into the mix, bringing in a couple of Panzer IIs to fight at close range, and then my other unit that I can use is the Ju-87s, of course. I've got a Pack 40 that's currently hiding in the back garden of this house, and we managed to get an ambushing shot onto the KV-85. I don't believe this KV-85 could fire back initially until it got closer, so that's why I managed to get so many shots onto the KV-85 on the right hand side before this Pack 40 got fired back upon. Now I should change the target here because this KV-85 is completely out of action. It's got crew kill, so I shouldn't really be wasting APCR on that, but I didn't really notice until it was too late, and the Pack 40 is now getting pinned by the other KV-85 and doesn't really have the penetration to kill it anymore. So yeah, that kind of sucks. Lack of micro there really caught me out. My Pack 40 that was killing all of the KVs on this road does go down eventually, and well, managed to get the Panzer IIs up. They're going to prevent any infantry from capturing this point for the time being, and Betts is doing a good job at capturing back the points on the hills, which means that we are going to win in 9 minutes and 50 seconds if this continues. And my ME-109s have come in to attack these Yaks. My Ju-87s did just do a gun run, or tried to do a gun run onto the KV-85s, but since they're in the valley there, it actually meant that my Ju-87s couldn't get their runs in properly because they couldn't get the angle of attack. We do manage to shoot down both of those Yaks though, with the help of Betts. So we've won in the air once again, but my Ju-87s are going to be reloading for the time being, and that's not good. So an ineffective strike could have been better, and that means that we are going to lose this point, potentially because of that. Wilfachwerfer is going to be firing onto the far side of these trees. It's all about just preventing the infantry push through this flag, but of course Avocado does have crocodiles and Churchills, which do excel at close range. So, got to do something about that. And, well, there's not much we can do. You can see that Betts is bringing up his AT rifle, but that's not really going to do too much. My Panzer IIs don't have enough penetration as it is. They can rip through the infantry fine, but as soon as a Churchill arrives with some form of armor, well, it's going to go down. And you can see their crew panic with the Panzer II already. Things are not looking good. Currently a draw in 4 minutes and 30 seconds if it continues at 12-12. I'm rushing in more SS Schupo, but these of course don't have any AT, so there's nothing I can do against something like a Crocodile or a Churchill. I think it's just I was so reliant on these Ju-87s at this point, but they'd already decided to bring in this AA, and these M15s moved forwards, just completely shut down my Ju-87s in the attempt to try and kill this Churchill 4 command, and ended up actually shooting both of them down as my second Panzer II does get killed. So a really, really crushing blow there, and there's absolutely nothing I can do. Now 50 seconds until defeat. I'm just using the Me-109s to help strafe infantry on the right hand side, maybe help Betts out. Betts' defense on his right hand side works really well though, and he crushes a couple of infantry there very quickly, so Betts is doing well to hold on to his right hand side, but we did lose this flag and we've now lost this flag, so things are not looking good. Now I think these two flags were the ones that he was defending. This one was already captured by them, but he cheekily sent some infantry forwards to go and capture that, and it did work well for a little bit, but then obviously they took it back and this is where we are now. So in order to deal with the Churchill, what I decided to do is bring in my own Vielfachwerfer, but I mistimed the rockets, and you can see that they weren't pinned down when my Panzer II moved forwards, which means that I don't manage to surrender them, we don't manage to get the flag back, and the game ends with a minor defeat after 27 minutes and 43 seconds. So majorly tight towards the end there, and I was hoping that we would be able to win this one, but unfortunately I think some misplaced bunkers, some lack of defense and depth really made that left side very difficult to defend. Also losing my Tigers as I did was like kind of unlucky, especially the trade with the Churchill, but that APCR like shouldn't have really one-shot my Tiger. I think it was like a critical hit. And then the one on the right hand side, I think it might have been killed by the Typhoons, I can't really remember. Jumping into the losses, we can have a bit of a better look at what went on. Early game, the snipers did really well, pinning down my infantry squads, and these mortars, really nice play from Avocado. Using those mortars to destroy my defensive bunkers, they did a fantastic job early on and opened up the left-hand side completely. His overwhelming infantry was a real problem for me. He gets a lot of cheap infantry in the defense groups and rifles and made good use of those, as well as the Spitfire Mark 9 strafing runs, since we had a severe lack of AA at the start of the game. Then the Churchills come through, do loads and loads of damage, sweeping up all of our light and medium tanks. We just don't have the penetration to get through the front armor of those. So very difficult to deal with. Then I came under attack by Spanish Warrior, who pushed forwards with a lot of Avtomatyki and the KV-1Es, which again, very difficult for me to deal with in the early game. And then when those tanks were able to be countered with the Tigers, well, the Tigers got killed, of course. So we can see that one of the Tigers went down to that Churchill I mentioned. I don't think I can see the other one on here, which basically tells me that it probably got killed by some sort of explosion from HE. So likely the Typhoons, I would say. Anyway, our airplay was quite good, myself and Betts using our fighters to take control of the air, which did allow me to get some kills with the Ju-87s. But these M15s, once they were brought in by Spanish Warrior, really caused us a lot of issues, and you can see that Avocado also reinforced himself with the Bofors that had 2-star veterancy, so that's going to be pretty damn lethal. In terms of our kills, well, early on it was pretty miserable, and we didn't do too much. The Tigers did kill quite a few tanks here. This is the second one. You can see that Tiger E trade with the Churchill 4. But I should have got way more with those Tigers. Now the Ju-87s, I managed to get a couple Churchills each. Again, I would have liked those kill lists to be a bit better. But our opponents did a fantastic job of investing in that AA after we initially used those Ju-87s effectively. Because we did completely shut down the extreme left side. I think at one point they didn't have any tanks left, only a 17 pounder. So if we'd had a division that had a few more like aggressive tanks, like more T-34s, or well, maybe not T-34s since we're on the Axis side, but maybe something like Panzer IVs, we maybe could have made a little bit of a push back there. But we didn't really have much to work with. Korück is extremely defensive and has barely any offensive capability, and you got to rely a lot on artillery, I think, which we didn't manage to do all that well throughout the game. We just got counter batteried from the start, and it made it very difficult to use artillery later on. So maybe we should have invested more into our artillery at the start. Well, we did bring in like 4 artillery guns, which I didn't show you guys at this, like in phase A. So it wasn't like we didn't have any. It's just that they bought more than we did and had more income than us throughout the entire game. So maybe we didn't choose the right division type, the deployment type I mean, since both of our divisions were Vanguard. With a Juggernaut, we'd have like 300 income per minute in phase C, so maybe that would have been enough to push back. But with Korück, there's nothing to buy with those 300 points that's actually going to stop an abundance of KVs and Churchills. So very, very difficult game, and I think we did well to last as long as we did with the divisions that we chose against like the newly and borderline overpowered 15th Infantry Scots. But I won't take away from Avocado and Spanish Warrior working together and getting the job done. They did a fantastic job on the push and were great opponents. I really do like it when I get challenged, and this was certainly a challenge. It was, of course, in part to a lot of mistakes, but yeah, can't take it away from them. Really, really good job in this one. So, fantastic battle. Get to see Naratch Lake as well, and get to see Breakthrough, which I haven't done a video on in a while. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.